There are a number of considerations that we need to discuss with relation to this whole idea of a nationally representative, randomly selected Parliament of Citizens. First, it is essential that we maintain a list of all citizens in the country. This list must be kept up to date, and it must include every single voting age citizen with no exceptions. No one can be removed from this list. Without a complete list, random selection is not possible, and this will mean that the selection is not representative of the population as a whole. Without a complete list, the process would underrepresent certain groups, such as homeless people or nomadic citizens. It is usually these groups that are marginalized, and they're the ones that actually need their voices heard the most. Most countries conduct a census and maintain a voter roll, but this does not mean it includes everyone. Any list must be automatically updated using a variety of different sources of information. It must draw upon details from other datasets to make sure that the list is maintained and kept up to date. There must never be purges of existing citizens from the list. The only way off the parliamentary selection lists is death and giving up your citizenship. To ensure the selection is truly random, it must be possible to reach every citizen. We must be able to contact them when they're selected. It's difficult to keep track of someone without a home, who doesn't have a fixed address, who doesn't have a telephone, or has no way of being reached by any communication device. This provides a justification to provide every citizen with a home and an address and a telephone and probably internet access. We need at least one fixed home address for every person to ensure that everyone has an equal chance of being selected. Then we need multiple ways to contact those people who've been selected. So there's a good argument that everyone should be given a telephone, and this could be a landline or a mobile device. It doesn't matter as long as we can reach everyone. This means that everyone can be reached by mail to their home address or by telephone or text message, and if everyone has internet access, then possibly by instant messaging or email. So there are multiple ways to reach someone when they've been selected. It also happens to solve the problem of homelessness, which is a nice side effect. Both the house and the phone could be very basic, and the government only needs to supply them for people who are homeless or phoneless. Making sure everyone has a fixed home address and multiple ways of being reached is essential for having a representative citizen parliament. Another consideration is that we probably should have free healthcare and education for all. These are both important for a properly functioning citizen parliament. Free healthcare is necessary because in order to get out of your service, we require 3 separate medical professionals to vouch for people to get them out of service. If visiting the doctor costs money, then this is an unfair burden on poor citizens who maybe can't afford 3 separate visits. So, at the very least, medical clinic visits need to be free. Free education is also a prerequisite for having a citizen parliament. People need to be not only literate, but also be able to think critically, evaluate evidence, and understand causal relationships. This means that tertiary education must be free, just like primary and secondary education is free in most countries. This also has a good side effect of ensuring that people in society are kept skilled so that they are productive members of society, as our societies are changing so rapidly and entire industries are becoming obsolete. Having people educated has a stabilizing effect on society as well. Education also serves many functions beyond simply preparing someone for a job. One of those functions is to prepare people to make good decisions that affect other people positively. We must ensure that everyone who wants a tertiary education is able to get one, and to do so without taking on a debt. This includes both university and vocationary tertiary educations. Tertiary education means more than just university. It can mean getting a trade skill as well. All degrees, all certificates must include courses that prepare people to think critically and evaluate evidence when making collective social decisions. This means that people will be at least minimally prepared to perform their civic duties when called upon as citizen parliamentarians. Another very important topic, which we've covered in a previous series, is that it is essential that media channels and research institutes be diverse, independent, and truthful. If we set up citizen parliaments that are harder for wealthy, powerful, and ideological interests to capture or to corrupt directly, then these forces will turn their attention to the entire public body. This will be the case more than already happens. These groups will try to manipulate public opinion in their favor. The media must therefore be independent both of corporate and government control. We must hold it to extremely exacting standards of accuracy and truthfulness through a truly independent body that balances freedoms of speech, with restrictions on deception, disinformation, and misinformation. Disinformation is when you deceive someone on purpose and you intend to tell a lie, whereas misinformation is by accident or results from simply being ignorant of an issue. But we need to protect against both. Research institutes must be similarly independent and held to high standards while balancing academic freedoms with restrictions on publishing dishonest publications. So this means we need to get corporate money out of our higher education system and out of think tanks and those sorts of bodies. The aim is to prevent the manipulation of public opinion through media channels and to prevent research institutes from being corrupted by outside influences. One final concern that people will probably have is, what about irrational people? What about stupid people? There is this sentiment that you can't trust the average person, when the opposite is actually true. If you get a large enough group of people randomly selected, those people that have fringe beliefs are on the fringe. There's not many of them. Concerns about unreasonable individuals making political decisions arise from a lack of understanding of how large groups of people work and how averages work. When a large, randomly selected group of people makes a decision together, their collective decision is usually very wise and takes into account many more perspectives than a small group of people, even if the small group of people are experts or elites of some kind. If there is an unreasonable individual, people will politely listen to someone rant about some off-topic concerns or voice their insane thoughts, but through unsaid looks, nonverbal body language, and conversations with one another, they will collectively agree that some people maybe don't have the wisest advice and maybe don't have their heads screwed on properly. It is important and necessary to include all individuals in the process, even the people who we might consider not capable. They might be annoying, they might be insane, they might be conspiracy theorists, they might just not be intelligent. But we have to let everyone be involved without exception. Having any mechanism to exclude people will be abused. It will be used to marginalize certain voices or exclude certain groups. And this will, in the long term, be abused, and it will manipulate the outcome, and it will undermine the legitimacy of the process. So even though we might be concerned that a few people don't understand the issues, they will be briefed properly, and most people will make informed decisions. The small percentage of every parliament will not affect the outcome ultimately. On the other hand, just look at some of our currently elected politicians and ask yourself if our current process excludes all idiots. There are always people who will be uninformed, but having a large, randomly selected body make our laws will produce far superior outcomes than what we have now with corrupt elected representatives. This new kind of democracy holds great potential, and while it might be unfamiliar and untried, I genuinely think that it is probably going to be better than any system we currently have in existence in any democracy anywhere in the world at present. It's much closer to what democracy should be. It will solve a lot of our problems. It will mean that the laws gradually change in favor of what the majority wants, and it will gradually change society for the better. We'll still have plenty of problems. This is just one way of solving a lot of them, or opening the door to allow us to solve a lot more problems. Because wealthy, powerful interests won't be able to act as gatekeepers by buying and corrupting our elected representatives. It will instead be much closer to the democratic ideal of for the people and literally by the people. That's what democracy is supposed to be.